All right, let's talk about Facebook. And this has to do more with Joe Biden, who was during the same news conference, which is that we brought you the news that on Friday, whenever he was asked about Facebook, what's your message to Facebook? Biden explicitly said, Facebook is killing people. And I somehow found myself defending Facebook, being like, sorry, that's actually not how it works. It turns out we have mass institutional distrust all across the United States. If you think of the numbers, it is stunning, Krystal. I know we talk about it every day, but even then seeing it quantified is amazing. Only 49% of Americans are fully vaccinated. Like 56% have had one dose. That's 44% of adults in this country who said, nope, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And if you think about how much the mainstream has said that you should get it, every Republican politician, the president of the United States, throwing the full force of the U.S. government, the medical community.
Sean Hannity was on there last night being like, go on, get the vaccine, I believe in it.
You want to know how crazy things are? Sean Hannity is making sense these days. And Fox and Friends is being responsible.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now. And even then, 44% of people say, no, I'm not going to take it. Now, there's a variety of reasons for that. I actually don't think medical misinformation is the chief reason. I'll be very controversial and say this. I really think it comes down to a cost-benefit analysis, which we'll talk about with Michael Brendan Doherty, and people like, I just don't trust you. And look, I see it organically in terms of comments whenever I talk about the vaccine, and more people like experimental use, and look, we could talk endlessly about why the efficacy, at this point, hundreds of millions of people have taken, maybe over 1 billion people have taken it, and are completely fine. I mean, in terms of the dropping numbers, but look, if you really, really think about it, it comes down to this. I don't trust you. And that is a core societal problem. And, I think Biden maybe recognized this. You had to walk it back a little bit. Just take a listen, though, because he's still leaning very heavily on the whole misinformation thing.
Facebook isn't killing people. These 12 people are out there giving misinformation. Anyone listening to it is getting hurt by it. It's killing people. It's bad information. My hope is that Facebook, instead of taking it personally that somehow I'm saying Facebook is killing people, that they would do something about the misinformation, the outrageous misinformation about the vaccine. That's what I meant.
So there you can see there, Krystal, he's still leaning very heavily on the misinformation. I do think the White House continues to make a big mistake. Vaccinated or unvaccinated Americans are going to feel persecuted in terms of going after information sources that they may trust, number one. And number two, which is that the best way to combat that misinformation is, like I said, go and find people who have credibility. Black Americans are the least likely in America to get vaccinated. Go find people amongst low institutional trust Black Americans and have them go to the South and say, here's why I think you should do it. Same thing amongst lower middle class whites, same thing amongst lower middle class Hispanics. And yet, I don't see any actual creative thinking going on in the White House. They just want to cast their blame onto people who are posting on Facebook. Do I think those people on Facebook are responsible and, are purveyors of misinformation? Yeah, but, misinformation only works whenever there's a deep foundation in order to play into.
Yeah, when there's a fundamental mistrust there that you can sort of prey on with your misinformation. This is people who already want a reason
there you go.
To not get the vaccine and to mistrust it, and then they have a story that backs it up. So you're just sort of like filling in the blanks for them. But the skepticism was there to start with. I'm really surprised. I have not seen, and I know we've both been on the lookout for it, I just haven't seen much actual data and research about we know who's not getting vaccinated, but why. Like, we really haven't seen, there's a lot of guesswork and people like using whatever their political lens is to try to get inside of the minds of people who are unvaccinated. But I just haven't seen all that much in terms of concrete evidence of what strategies have worked so far, what the reluctance still is, what percent, because this is a big question for me. It's not clear to me, it's like 44% who haven't gotten vaccinated at all so far?
Yeah, correct.
Somewhere around that for adults. What percentage of that is really hardened, like, hell no, there's no way, no one's gonna talk me into it, I'm not gonna be convinced, I'd rather take the risk of getting coronavirus, et cetera. Like, what percent is really hardcore? and what percent is either persuadable or there's been some logistical hurdle or other reason they haven't gotten it where maybe they could be moved on the margins. Because from the little bit of data I've seen, I'm convinced that of that 44%, there's still a decent chunk that could be open to the vaccine if they didn't have a work logistical hurdle or a childcare logistical hurdle or whatever it is that is keeping them from going out and actually getting this vaccine. I'm convinced there's still a chunk that could be persuaded. There's some people you're just not gonna
I hope
reach,
so.
Bottom line.
And that's what I'm saying, which is we got to shake things up and change things completely. I mean, I know it seemed cringe. I thought the Olivia Rodrigo thing was good. I'm like, she's a 17-year-old, has a lot of fan base amongst people who are really young, Gen Z, like TikTok, all of that. I'm like, that's kind of exactly what I'm talking about here, which is go and find people who have credibility within groups who you are seeing. I think
it was hugely shared on Facebook too. I have to say
shared.
that driver's license song, I despise.
Yeah.
Sorry, but when that song comes on, I really want to kill myself.
Yeah, my
I
girlfriend
hate it.
loves Olivia
It's so
Rodrigo.
angsty and like,
Yeah, I know. She's like something about she sings about getting ice cream. I'm like, this chick is 17.
She's
like,
18 now, I
or
think,
18.
but
Okay.
whatever.
Look, it's not for me.
Anyway,
I've made
I'm
peace
not
with
the
that.
target audience.
Yeah.
I've already got my vaccine and I'm old. So
Exactly. Right.
But
I'm still rocking out to Blink 182.
I think you're right though that they identified a group, which is young people, who they think are still reachable, and tried to find someone who has some credibility within that group. And that's not a bad strategy. Will it work or not? I just honestly, I don't know. I don't know that we have the data or the research to say, but it's certainly worth a try. When I see the Biden administration doing this Facebook stuff, to me, it's a signal that they've given up, that they're looking for a scapegoat rather than a solution. That's what I really think this is about. This is about being able to say, it's these 12 actors on Facebook spreading misinformation that are killing people, and it really has nothing to do with us, and there's really nothing we can do about it. Facebook will yell at you and will castigate you. Are they actually gonna force Facebook to censor? They'll suggest this or that. But I don't think this is actually about looking for some sort of action or solution or policy. I think this is about finding a scapegoat, which, by the way, is also what Facebook said, and I think they're kind of right about that.
And I got to tell you, I was pissed off yesterday. Before we play the Jen Psaki clip we're about to show you, she was asked whether the White House would ask Trump in order to cut a PSA to get vaccinated. And they were like, well, we don't think we should have to invite him. Trump is a vain man. If Joe Biden called him up and was like, Trump, I need you to do this, I think personally he would do it. And B, you don't think that's worth it? I do. I think that, Biden, if you really want to heal the soul of the nation and all that, call the guy who you defeated for president and just be like, look, Donald, we have our differences. I need you to cut this video. There are a lot of people who trust you. And then if Trump rejects him, then Trump is the jackass in that situation and they can leak it.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
They're pulling it down, being like, oh, listen, is it annoying you have to stroke the former president's ego in order to cut a PSA to go get vaccinated? Yeah, it is. And Trump is an extraordinarily vain guy. Well, he's the one who got elected. So whatever. He is what it is. He has a lot of credibility with millions of the people who won't get vaccinated. I think they should ask him. I don't know why it's so crazy. And the press, there's a lot of discussion around this, which is just a lot of wish casting. Everybody wants to say oh, it's all, boomer whites who are not getting vaccinated who watch Fox News. There's some of that. But I mean, like I said, nobody seems to want to talk about the fact that black Americans are the least likely to be vaccinated in the United States. And if they do, it's some Tuskegee, whatever. Yeah, maybe. I definitely think that plays a part, but it's also been a long time. Maybe it doesn't have anything to even do with that, and it's just deep lack of institutional trust.
Yeah.
Go and find people who are, I don't know, musicians, anyone, radio host, somebody like Charlemagne the God, right? Ask him. Ask the Breakfast Club and all those people to cut those ads, but they don't want to. I mean, the last time Biden talked to Charlemagne, it didn't go so well. So I guess I understand why they would want to. But this is part of what I'm saying. If you really want to be the president, if you really want to put it all behind you, unite the country, if your actual goal is getting people vaccinated, call Trump tomorrow. Call people who have deep credibility in the black community. Call people who have deep credibility amongst lower middle class Hispanic people. those are, if you did that, lower middle class, whites, Hispanics, blacks, all of whom disproportionately are likely to live in the South, not have access generally to organs of mainstream media and more, we would have a ton more people get vaxxed. But they don't want to do that.
I'm actually skeptical whether that would really work. I mean, we had,
Maybe
Barack Obama, who's more trusted? Like, there are a few people more trusted in the black community than Barack Obama, who's come out and said the thing. But look, I think all of it is worth a try, right? Even Trump, remember we saw that focus group, granted it was a Frank Luntz focus group, and apparently his stuff is all like completely invented and nonsense, so I don't know why I'm citing it right now, but he talked to these Trump voters who were like, if the president says we should get vaccinated, that doesn't really change our mind either. I don't know that there's any politician who's really going to change that core. I do think, I am convinced that there is some persuadable group within that 44%. And it may be disproportionately young people who are just looking at it like, I don't really feel at risk and I'm young and invincible and I don't feel like it. So there may, I do think there's some persuadable group. But for the hardcore, like, hell no group, that ship has sailed. It's sailed over years and decades of built-up institutional mistrust, which may be, have come from different places depending on where you live and what race you are and what your personal experience with the medical system has been. But look, all of this is worth a try because it is genuinely about saving lives and making sure that we can get back to some sense of normalcy without having to continue to look at these case numbers and be afraid.
To your point, let's say 5 to 10% works. 10% of the 209 million adults, that's 2 million people. So if we got 10% more, that's a lot, right? I mean, and even 5, that's 1 million. So 1 million extra people who don't have to worry about dying from COVID, or at the very least, having the least amount of symptoms possible as variants come. I think that's a pretty good trade-off, personally. And to your point about what the White House is doing, well, they're keeping the door open in terms of a war with Facebook, and that's literally their words. Let's take a listen to what she said.
I don't think we've taken any options off the table. That's up to Congress to determine how they want to proceed moving forward. But let me just note that we're not in a war or a battle with Facebook. We're in a battle with the virus. And the problem we're seeing that our Surgeon General elevated just last week is that disinformation traveling through a range of mediums. Some of them are a range of social media platforms. Some of them are media. Some of them are through the mouths of public officials. That bad information, inaccurate information about vaccines is killing people.
So there you go. We're keeping all options on the table, continuing the escalatory war. I do think, like you said, the best thing to do would be to try something else, and instead they're trying to find a scapegoat, which I don't think is the right strategy, both in terms of trying to get people vaccinated, and I think people see through it. I think that there's a reason Biden had to walk that back, is people were saying, this is totally absurd, and they're trying to deplatform everybody from every platform or whatever. That's completely ridiculous.
It was pretty funny when Biden's like, I'm not trying to say Facebook is killing people. And
you're
like,
you literally
said that. That is literally what you said.
Right.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.